So you're always in here too.
Going live. Good. We're doing it live.
Yo, what's good? What's good?
What's cracking?
T-Bob, what up?
What's up, my man? Nice to meet you. Heard a lot about you.
Yeah. All right. So today, first of all, I'm Delane Isaac, one half of Foreign Strategies.
Boy, T-Bob.
We got a special guest in the building.
My name is Javon. What's up, everybody?
So today we're going to talk about real estate 101, or how to start off in real estate, or real estate for beginners. And we were actually talking about other things too. We're talking about the sacrifices as a man to build your empire. But anyway, we're going to get into that. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Foreign Strategies. Prepare for takeoff.
What's good, y'all? Appreciate the talk yesterday. It was good engagement from the chat.
Yes, it was really good.
Yeah.
Really productive.
Very productive. We got a nice lineup. So we kind of know where we're going to go tomorrow. All right. So you know what it is. We're going to do the housekeeping. We're sponsored by Ramil Herbs. It's herbs for the modern man. Link is in the description. You get 20% off. And yo, T-Bob, you know what's so weird about the herbs?
Mm-hmm.
I get the same feeling. I got the vitality. I got the mental power.
Mm-hmm.
I get the same thing from GHS. This is get her sprung.
Yeah, because it has some of the same ingredients, like the maca and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it might be like 3 or 4 different ingredients in each one. So yeah, you might get some of the same effects, especially with the maca. And the so you can kind of cross use it, you know. If you just want a little energy and a little fun, you can just take the vitality.
I'll take the vitality and mental. I'm like turned up. I'm like ready to go. I'm like, wait a minute. Am I supposed to feel like this? I feel like taking a GHS.
You should have
Yeah.
Yo, I'm gonna let you try it.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give a review.
Oh yeah, man, you gotta try it, man. I'm depressed that my shipment got sent back because I just ran out today of the vitality.
Yeah.
So I just got GHS left. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait till you get out here for me to get some of that.
Yeah, send another order. Send it to me and I'll bring it to you.
But yeah, so yeah, man. It's good stuff, guys. Good stuff.
Send me an order too, man. I want to try this.
Oh, that, yeah. We definitely gotta get the special guest. Get them hooked.
Nice. So go further into it. Well, we're on Spotify right now. The second episode is up. As we're talking about Colombia with Wesley. That was a good interview. We're on Twitch. No, we're not on Twitch yet, but we'll be soon when we reunite. We're on Twitter. We're on patreon.com/foreignstrategies and Instagram and TikTok. As you can see, we have the merch. I always say this. She got friends, T-Bob. So
the hoodie.
He got the hoodie. I gifted him.
Looking good. Fresh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see he was wearing it. That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I love it.
It's dope, man.
Anything you want to say, T-Bob?
No, I think we can get to it. Just get straight to it.
Okay, so we have a special guest. Is one of my homies. I can't really say this about a lot of people in the world. I would take a bullet for this guy. So I guess I'm simping for my one of my best friends. Yeah. Man.
How long y'all known each other?
Man, we've known each other since college, but
okay.
He's pretty much a real estate mogul, man, guru. You have 5 houses, right?
More.
You got 5. You got more than 5 houses. I thought you had 5 houses.
I love it.
You know what? I'm just gonna shut up and I'll let him talk.
Okay.
All right, just talk about your background and why you got into the real estate market game.
I think maybe for the viewership, it might be useful if one or both of you take a minute, maybe just give the essence of the podcast, so I could maybe try to tailor conversation to the type of topics and conversation that you guys are used to. Perfect. So like typically the podcast is about How would you summarize it?
Dating, women, fitness, traveling, a
Okay.
little bit of financial stuff.
Yeah,
Little bit.
sprinkling it in there.
Mostly about
Okay.
dating though.
Mostly about dating,
Yeah.
traveling, men's fitness,
Yeah.
and financial whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Foreign strategies. What's the psychology of a non-Western woman?
Okay.
Right.
So, Mills, I don't know what you go by on here. Mills, okay, or what do you guys? What do you
Nah,
go?
just go by Delane.
Delane.
Don't tell them too much about me. Don't tell
Oh,
them.
here we go. Now we know something.
Yo, don't.
See,
First of all,
his first mistake. You didn't preface me. You didn't prep me before I came.
all right. I sure
I
didn't
love
prep.
it. Hey, keep
All
it
right.
coming.
All right,
Keep it
I'm
coming.
prepping right now.
You should have said, "Don't talk about this.
Yeah.
Don't bring this
I'm
story up."
prepping right now.
College.
Okay, so here's the thing. Don't tell them nothing about it.
No college.
Nah, don't tell them nothing.
All right.
Nothing.
All right. So T-Bob, we're gonna keep it professional.
Yeah.
When I do see you in person, I'll
Oh yeah,
spill-
let it out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People are being for sure.
So yeah, Mills asked me to come on for the financial side of it. I know in some ways, can you say it's like a man's podcast, right? Like is
Yeah.
that kind of that's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Okay. And part of being a man, is being financially independent. And so I guess that's the conversation with the side where I'll be coming from. Everybody's story is different. And I know real estate is hot right now. It's been popping off for a few years. My story begins pretty much, I don't know how far back you want me to go. If we're going to keep it in a professional sense, then I'll just keep it strictly.
I mean,
I don't go back to my childhood where it originally began.
yeah.
To give everybody, I don't know if everybody wants to hear my personal story, but in a professional sense, I graduated from college.
Mhm.
And like most other graduates, I had some debt. And, I had to make a decision, at 23. Graduating, I have no money. I don't have a place. Do I move out and move in with a bunch of my friends? A bunch of my friends are moving into apartments. Or do I try to more aggressively, in terms of timeline, set up a future for myself? So, of course, I chose the latter. I went back home. And, growing up where I grew up, Mills, Delane knows where I come from. It's like an urban environment. Nobody really had a lot of money where I came from, myself included. So I just went home and I just crashed in my mom's couch, stayed in her living room. Because once I graduated, my sister took my bedroom. That's all we had is, when I was a kid, my sister was with my mom, and then I left. She took my bedroom. Then I had nowhere to go. I crashed on the couch. Within a year of crashing, I paid off my college debts. Then, not even less than a year, because it was cheaper, and I graduated 03. Paid off my college debts. Also, it helped during the summers, during college, and during the year I worked like 3 or 4 jobs, so I wasn't that much in debt. Then from about 24 to 29, I stayed doing that, and I saved up some money, and I put my first down payment on a house. Very important. If we're talking real estate 101, the most important thing that you can walk out of with this conversation is 20% down. And the reason for that is if you don't have 20%, you have to pay PMI, which you can call a type of insurance or reassurance that you're a financial liability. So if a financial institution, a bank, is going to give you money and you don't have 20%, they're going to make you pay an extra fee, which is this extra cost, this PMI, is basically you gain nothing from it. So on 100 grand, you need to put down 20 grand. On 200 grand, you got to have 40 in your pocket. If you want a $300,000 property, you got to have 60. Then you need 10 for closing on top of all of that. And then you have to ask yourself, how much work am I going to do? So on a $100,000 house, 20% down is 20, another 10 for closing, another at least 10 or 20 for repairs. You need at least 50 grand. Now, I don't know where all the viewers are coming from, but in North Jersey, you can't buy anything for 100 grand. You can't buy anything for 200 grand. You will have a very hard time finding something for 300 grand. I would say the conversation in North Jersey starts at 400 grand. And that is a very, very, very old, beat up home. You got to have 400 grand. Let's see, 20%, that's 80 grand, right? $320,000 loan. On top of the 80 grand, you need 10 to close, that's 90. Since you're buying the worst conditioned home, tack on another 30, maybe 40. You're looking at about 120,000 to buy a home properly, a $400,000 home where I come from. Now, every other market's different, right? You could buy a home somewhere else, let's say in Pennsylvania, for maybe 200 grand. I know, 10 years ago when I started getting involved, places in Newark were going for 5 grand or 10 grand. Downtown Detroit, same thing, 5, 10 grand. But, fast forward since the financial crisis 12 years later, that those markets are depleted and the markets are now saturated with buyers. So that's pretty much the quick 2-minute spiel on the numbers. So before I move forward, did you guys have any other questions on I'm just throwing out numbers now and scenarios? Mills, did you have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. So what made you get into the game?
Okay, so that's a good question. So that was pre-college, and I mean, not to go into deep with the personal stuff, but I grew up very poor. My father and mom came over from Europe. They saved all their money, much as I did after college. They bought a home in Europe, and then my dad, of course, disappeared with the home, with the money, everything. So, being a young kid, and, I know my mom and him had this vision. Of course, he disappeared. And I told myself at a very young age that I was going to make up for those losses that my mother had, basically had gone through with my dad. After the first home, when I saw the financial gains, then I started, I just continued the process. But that was, I know most people get into a home for different reasons. Mine was basically, redemption or making up for loss, from my mom. But now moving forward, it's just a safe place to park your money. And there are other types of investments I could talk about after real estate if you guys are interested, but it was just a safe place. So
Where did you learn about real estate?
So coming from a poor neighborhood, everyone has a different background. We went to school with Clark, a friend of ours, and his background, his parents are maybe a little more knowledgeable than mine in terms of like how to invest, running a business, etc. So when he got into real estate, it was maybe more from the financial side, but though he does a lot of the work too. But where I'm coming from, I had no such knowledge. Everyone I grew up with was an electrician, a sheetrocker, cider, a roofer. So a lot of my friends growing up in a blue-collar town, this is the kind of work that I saw. This is the kind of skill set that I developed, in maybe my 20s,
Yeah,
you
because
know.
all your friends, they all good with their hands. They all good with trades and skills.
Exactly. So that's how I entered. And that work that I did cut the cost. So instead of spending 30 to fix it, I'm spending 10 on material, taking that 20 and then reinvesting it in the next home. So I kind of stumbled into it. I never intended it to be this way, but my entrance into it was the work and cutting the corners by putting in the labor. It's a good
Okay.
question.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, because he does real estate too.
And T-Bob, you're in real estate. You're coming at it from of an investor side or like a workman side, like myself, or
So I'm a mixture of investor as well as I'm in property management as well.
right. So there's a lot of ways to make money, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, you can. I have friends that buy houses, fix them, sell them, try to make between 50 and 150 grand on a property. I have friends that are contractors. Someone else buys the property. If they're the general contractor overseeing the operation, and they have a bunch of people they're subcontracting to, let's say if we're flipping a home, we're looking at an addition or some large scale operation, and maybe it costs between 1 and 150. But if they're the general contractor, of course, they're making a cut on every person they're bringing in. So myself, I take the home, I repair it, I rent it, and I collect equity. And over a duration of 15 to 30 years, as the loan is paid off by someone else, I will have accrued wealth. But I have friends that will buy a home and 6 months later, they'll have 100 grand. So it's the turtle or the hare, right? The classic fable. Do you want your money up front or do you want to collect it over time? So, and I've
Have you
seen
ever?
on both sides try and hate both sides of it because there are pros and cons to both.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Have you done the other side? Have you flipped before, or you strictly been on the whole side?
I haven't personally flipped. I've flirted with the idea, um, but by the like as I've learned more, I've grown more comfortable. Like, could I do a flip now? Yes, I've met enough people that I could probably subcontract a lot of the work and just act as my own general contractor, or hire a close friend to oversee it and not have to pay a premium, but maybe like a friendly deal. But the issue is that the cost of the homes has gotten so high that it's kind of like I've been priced out of that. So, when I was purchasing homes and they were going for 200 grand 12 years ago, if I'd known then what I know now, I could have done a flip. But now that the houses are going for 400,000 or 500,000, the 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 cost of the return, is too small for me, you know.
Makes
So
sense.
How many
Makes
houses?
sense.
Because I said 5 and I was wrong.
I have 6 houses.
Okay, so you had 6. I thought you
Yeah,
said
and I know
5.
people with a lot. I know people with 30, 40 houses. I don't consider myself a mogul. I would just say that I busted my ass, because I have friends that have 30, 40 houses in Newark, and they went to auctions. They purchased them for 10, 20 grand, and then, they took that money and they just kept reinvesting. So they acted more like a mogul. I acted conservatively. I bought a bunch of my neighbors' houses in a safe community and was able to rent them. Mills, you live in a community. It's a safe community as opposed to an urban area where you're taking certain risks. People breaking into your houses and people ripping out your copper pipes, your house, your basement flooding out, your tools being stolen. It's just it's a different animal, but the return is higher.
Do you manage these properties yourself, or are you completely hands off?
Currently, I manage everything. So I do all the snow, I do the grass. People don't pay. I take them to court. I evict them. I basically soup to nuts run the entire operation. But that's a good point, T-Bob. At some point, if you're going to scale this as a business, you have to take a step back. But the issue is, if I'm paying off, mortgages, and I want to continue to buy homes, I can't pay for someone to do the work, pay for someone to, manage a property, and then I have to make certain sacrifices. Just kind of like what Mills was referring to at the start of the conversation. As a man, what types of sacrifices are you willing to make? How are you going to define yourself? You're going to look back one day and be like, did I do enough? Did I fulfill my fullest abilities, realize my fullest potential? That's part of being a man, right? Your pride. And so that's another question, T-Bob.
So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna respond. I was saying, like, I think that's probably the hardest part is stepping away and getting somebody else to manage your property, because when somebody else manages your property, like they really don't care as much as you. So they could make the job really easy on themselves to just pretty much hire anybody, first person they see, rather than negotiating with people to get the best deal, etc. So I definitely see what you're saying about that. Because you do save so much money when you manage it yourself, just because you're fighting for the best deal, the best possible everything, whereas somebody else is not going to do the same. So definitely understand that.
Yeah, just about 2 weeks ago, T-Bob, I was in the bathroom, and regular day, like, this is basically real estate when you manage the properties 101. Water starts pouring down onto my head. I go up, and a tile's cracked. So I assume, well, these tenants are being a little rowdy. They broke a tile. They didn't move the shower curtain. Fast forward a week, more water's coming out. I go up, I see that the bathtub is cracked. So, I assume again that they're ruining the place, and I'm sure that they played a part in it. But as I removed the tub and the tiles, I found out that the plywood was bending. So this is 12 years ago. This is my first property that I live in. And in the bathroom above me, as my first property, I had no idea what I was doing. So I hired someone to do the subfloor. So what did they do, T-Bob? They put a 1/2-inch plywood. 1/2-inch bends, the hardy backer and the cement board bent, the tiles cracked. They cut all these corners. Now, me looking here, and I take out the tiles, I know I need to reinforce the floor. But they knew I would pay them, and the issue wouldn't come for maybe 10 years. So, but now that I know that, I can use that, as you're saying. I could hire someone. I could come in. This is installed right. So I had to go and take my lumps and to learn.
Yeah. So. Right there with you. It's definitely a live and learn business, man. It's costly too. It is very costly.
I see a bunch of these comments here. Should I try to reference it?
I think there's been some questions. Have you seen any questions today?
I was gonna keep going with my questions.
Oh yeah. You run it.
I wanted anybody that presidents for super chats. I don't know how you want to run it today, too, T-Bob. So
yeah. So super chats obviously get first come first serve for the questions, but yeah. So we could run through yours first, Elaine, and then we could get to the chats after.
All right. Well, I have a question that's not on here. You guys are coming from two different spectrums. He's more domestic. You're more international. So I'm really interested to see how your perspective on looking at real estate on different lands. Or do you guys think one is more beneficial than the other? Because you have property in Mexico to Moon, and he's property here domestically, locally. I know we spoke about that before, because we did a podcast about real estate, talking about Texas, Austin, Texas.
That's a good question. You want to tackle it, T-Bob, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll let you go first. Oh, yeah, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a friend, Nick, and on multiple occasions he's tried to make me invest in Florida and St. Louis and various places where it's less saturated, because right now, New Jersey is a huge. You're taking a huge hit to buy something right now because the market is flooded. And our friend Nick is coming from a similar place as T-Bob. He's going to hire a property manager. He's going to have that person find an electrician, find all these various people to do these tasks, a plumber, etc. And I guess coming where I come from, a lot of the people in my neighborhood happen to do work like that or know someone that does. So it's just I stumbled into it. I'm not I've been reluctant because of my situation, but I'm sure T-Bob, you can talk to some of the advantages of, not having to do the work and the way the market may afford those opportunities, right? Talk to some of the advantages of.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to check something.
Oh.
You can keep going.
I got thrown. I was like, "Oh, it's not what I do." I thought I did something.
Oh, no.
Press a button. Oh man.
Keeping y'all on toes, making sure that.
Yes.
Yeah. So domestic versus international. Obviously for me, the international started off as it's a lifestyle thing for me. Like to travel. So that the goal of mine was always to own something internationally. It was definitely more personal than financial at the beginning. And then secondly, I would say just it's more affordable, right? I can afford something in Mexico much more easily than I can in the US. So I would say those two were probably the most two important factors for me personally. And then once I factored in what I would have to invest in, let's say Mexico, and the returns I would get versus, let's say, back in the US, it just made more sense to me. But that's not saying I think generally speaking, the US, you could still get probably better returns than probably anywhere in the world, generally speaking. But I think to get in, the threshold is a little bit higher in the US versus a place like Mexico. So that's definitely why I went the international route. But I do manage property in the US, so I know both ends. But yeah, that's what I would say. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
say this is right or wrong. I wouldn't say
Yeah,
think both.
I see Buck Travel kind of referencing over here where you're talking about, T-Bob, that get 100 grand for a condo on an ocean, right? In Kenya. And I know, like, my family comes from Macedonia. You can get a condo on a lakefront condo for 70, 80 grand. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of places around the world. So yeah, it's like you said, it's a lifestyle. And I get it. I think quality of life, T-Bob, you probably made a better decision, I certainly have had to make greater sacrifices than that I would have liked in terms of quality of life. But yeah, it would be incredible if you had a place, right?
Mhm.
And then you can go Airbnb it when you're not there. When someone's not there, take advantage of it. So
Mhm.
Are all of your properties in New Jersey?
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So you would you ever consider buying property or getting same process outside of the States? Or are you
Well, the
less?
margin of return, right? Like T-Bob, you were saying, that return you got by buying that condo in Mexico
Mm-hmm.
would make sense for you.
Exactly.
So it's just like a numbers game, and there are a lot of resources out there. You can, like, type in a mortgage calculator in Google and run the numbers with minimal to no help from anyone. If you buy a house for, 100 grand, put down 80,000 dollar loan, right?
Mm.
and you put in for every 80,000, right? Or every 80%, you do your percents at 2, 3, 4%. And if the return is higher in a place as in Mexico, as T-Bob is saying, it can make sense. But if the margin is the same or less, I like having the place nearby because I can go and, do the little things and not have to incur cost.
Exactly.
But for someone like T-Bob, it makes sense. If he's familiar with that side of it and he doesn't need to be there, his quality of life can be better. So, of course, knowledge is power. And if he can use that knowledge to buy a property with a larger return and not have to be so hands-on, to me, that makes sense. It's just not where I'm coming from. So,
okay. And
all the places,
that your properties, they're all like single family, 2-family. I already know the answer, but I'm just
so
for people who doesn't.
I buy strictly 1 and 2-family properties because if you have a 3 or more in New Jersey, you have a mandatory yearly inspection. And basically, I just don't want to deal with the headaches. There's enough inspections with the 1s and 2s. Now you have to throw in the state and the extra. You have the local municipality, doing certificate of occupancy, COs, and fire inspections and whatever headaches they give you. And then you want to add the state. So now I'm not just dealing with my neighborhood, but I'm dealing with another layer of aggravation. I just didn't want to deal with it. The margin of return could have been higher. The second reason I chose singles and doubles is if let's say I buy a home at 200 as opposed to a 4-family at 800, the cost is the same. But on a 2-family or 1-family at 200, if I can pay off that 200, I no longer have to pay interest. So if I have a set $800,000 home, 20% of that is 160, right? 160. So $640,000 loan. I'm going to have to pay that entire amount to eliminate interest and debt. But if I buy a $200,000 home, 20% is 40, 160,000. I'm going to pay that 160,000 and never have to look over my shoulder. Why is that important? Because if I could eliminate one source of debt, I can then move forward and I can collect equity off of something without having to incur a loss. No matter how much money I collect on that 4-family home at 800,000, 640 is a large chunk, and it's going to take 4 times longer than the $200,000 home. I know it's going to. So part of that is common sense, right? Eliminate your debt. And I remember being a kid, and I know Mills, Delaney, you're going to be surprised when I tell you this, but I remember my mom was watching Oprah. I know I'm dating myself. T-Bob, you know who Oprah is?
Oh yeah.
Oprah Winfrey.
Oh yeah.
So mom's watching Oprah, and one of the things that she said is if you have 5 credit cards, you don't pay off the credit card with the most debt. You start with the one with the least debt. You pay that off, and now you have only 4 sources of debt. So I use that principle, right? And over time, I'll be able to eliminate my debt. And if let's say eliminate 1 home, then I could take a break. If you have a 4 unit, you're never taking a break. Unless, of course, you grew up with a silver spoon and your daddy and your mom, here's your down payment, here's your house. You don't have to worry about these things because the return is greater. You're going to take that. But being where I'm coming from, I had to play it safe because I don't have a dad. My mom doesn't work, and that's it. It's me. So I had to figure it out by myself,
Guys, we are 40 minutes into the podcast. Get the likes up. Make sure you super chat. All super chat questions get president. If you have questions, we're going to get to them. I just want to get through our questions first. But if you want to put yours at the forefront, feel free to super chat. Just want to put that out there, guys. If you're just joining in. So single family, what about, I have a list of like theoretical terms, interest rate on housing. What part does that?
I'm sorry, on what?
Let's say we're talking about interest rates. How could you educate somebody that doesn't know anything about?
So, yeah, that's a very good question. And I'm impressed that you asked that later, because people oftentimes, a lot of people come to me for real estate advice at my jobs. And that's one of the questions they ask very prematurely.
Right up front.
Right. Not realizing that actually some of the other questions you asked were more important.
Mm-hmm.
So you buy a house at $200,000. The interest rate is, let's just say it's not, and this is an unrealistic number, 10%. Right now it's more like 3. Let's just say 10 because the math is easier. If you have a 200, or let's just say 100,000, 10%, that's 10 grand, right? Or 200,000, 10%, that's 20 grand. Now, if the interest rate goes up, you might think that you shouldn't buy. But if the cost of the house goes down, you still might be in an optimal situation. If the house is not 100, and let's say it's 80, but the interest rate is 12%, you still might be paying the same thing. The only thing is your value of your home is lower. The portion of your payment to the bank is higher. And again, you might say, well, why would I be wanting to pay more money to the bank? Well, you're getting the cost the house at a lower cost. And really, at the end of the day, as the cost of real estate goes up and down, these factors this will actually matter less and less, because, what you want to do is get that amount, get your mortgage calculator, figure out the amount, and see if your return is high enough. So whether the cost goes up and the rate down, or the rate goes up and the cost down, really, it's not the most critical thing. The houses that I first bought were much cheaper, but the rates were higher. So I was buying houses at 200, but paying 5%. Then as the houses went up, the rates dropped. So technically, I'm still paying the same thing. Yes, the amount of, I guess, principal, since the house went up, is higher, and I might think I'm paying myself more. But again, that's not really reality. Reality is supply and demand. Regardless of the interest or principal, just understand that it will fluctuate over time. So what you should be more concerned with is the bottom dollar, and is your return high enough? So if you're paying $2,000 a month for taxes, interest, insurance, whatever, property management, etc. If the return is there, don't obsess over that. And that's kind of like, the banks are not stupid. So of course they're going to advertise these rates, and they're going to make it seem like it's a time to buy, because that's what they do, right? It's always a time to buy a house, according to a bank. Just like it's always a time, to buy food to a supermarket. So they're just doing their job. And you just need to make a wise choice, punch the numbers. So.
Wow.
Good. I like that.
So, all right. So my next question is cash flow. What's that time frame going in, that timeline looks like, and where does cash flow
good question.
fit in that time frame?
Yeah. This is a good detour to what Mills said, like being a man. Just, kind of like, it's not just about real estate, right? It's about controlling your own destiny. I own a property. I don't get to be I don't get kicked out by the landlord. I gain money. I can maybe one day retire. I don't have to work for somebody. It's just about realizing your fullest potential, right? So this timeline is different for everyone. I knew if I went and I got a place like all my other friends got apartments, the timeline that I'm looking at would have been 4 times longer. I crashed on my mom's couch. It sucked, but I was able to save every penny. So my timeline was about 5, 6 years. But remember, I'm not paying rent. I was helping my mom out, but the amount that I'm giving my mom to crash on the couch is not the same as renting an apartment.
Especially in New York.
Exactly. And in most places, most cities, it's a big difference. So, and that was a chapter in my life when me and Delane were going out to the city every Friday and Saturday night. We were hitting the club up, we're hitting our parties. I mean, that was the time, right?
I don't do that no more.
I know. See, you going out, and did it matter that I didn't have a place? Well, my life was out. I was traveling a lot, as you two are, at that chapter in my life. I wasn't home. So it's like a lifestyle. I knew at that stage in my life, I was going out, dating, girls, going out, meeting girls.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go to their place. I was traveling, so I don't have to be home.
Yeah.
And those are the types of sacrifices. If I went out, I crashed by a friend, so I don't have to go home. And if you're not gonna make a similar type of sacrifice, it's gonna be very hard to break into real estate, because the return, or to do it in a way that I'm doing it, where I can maybe scale it within 5 to 10 years and retire early from I'm a teacher, retire early from my actual job. If I have friends that are not scaling it, they're saving to buy a property in which they could then rent out, and then their kids in 30 years. So if they're 40 and they get a property, they're thinking at 70, their kids will have a $500,000 in equity to live, and that's the sacrifice for their children.
Mm-hmm.
That's another way of doing it. That's the long game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking timelines, you got to man up. Like, I've had the same car now for 16 years, right? You've seen my car.
Mm-hmm.
I have black mirrors. I have a black bumper. There's no paint on it. They were destroyed, and I replaced them with non-painted parts. I sacrifices like that, because I know my legacy, the worth that I will find in this life. They're not going to be these material things, right?
Right.
The worth will be resonating within me in my accomplishing my fullest potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how I see it. So that answers like the timeline for you.
Love that.
Throw one in the chat if you own a home or multiple homes. I'm curious to know.
Well, crash at a friend is sleepover. Just spend the night.
Sleepover, crash.
Yeah, you got a couch. You got a spare bedroom. Yeah.
Okay, so how about equity? How's that play in that timeline as well? We talked about cash flow, interest rate. What about equity? As far as, you spoke about it, but
yeah. So equity. So we talked about the long game, right, and the long game that me and other even more conservative people have played. We talked about flipping houses, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about being the contractor and double dipping. You're getting paid for a job, subcontracting the work. And of course you have those subcontractors. That's really, at the bottom of the barrel. You're doing something and you're charging, $3,000 to paint a house, spending a week or two, and that's another side of it.
Mhm.
Another part of it is equity. You you have a house, it goes up in value. So the houses I purchased at 200 are now worth 4. I could turn and I can go to the bank right now and I could say, I would like to withdraw the value of my home and incur a larger debt. Now, I have heard of people doing this and I've seen people do this, but to trace back to the conversation or what I was saying about Oprah Winfrey, I don't want debt. I want to pay my home, and then that's what I've been able to do, right?
Mhm.
Pay down, move on to the next. And, T-Bob, to go back to your lifestyle, if I keep on withdrawing equity and I keep on incurring debt, and I've been told by certain other investors to do that, there comes a point where you're stretching yourself so thin, right? If I'm withdrawing on a $400,000 house, the 200 that I gained in equity, the house is not paid off. I'm buying another house. Yes, that money is also generating wealth with that first house, but I'm incurring that debt. And there is a certain level of stress. I'm a teacher, so I'm working, 7 to 4 every day, and I'm doing the work on the house. And then on top of that, I'm going to incur more debt. At some point, you have to make a decision. You can't do everything, and for lifestyle purposes, if I need to do work, my debt is low enough that I can hire someone, because I haven't overextended. But T-Bob, if you're a great property manager, that might be a good option for you, because you can take that money, manage that wealth in such a way that, you can gain equity with the new property. It's just not something that I was entirely familiar with, and I'm playing it conservative. I am a teacher, so I'm playing it conservative.
Definitely makes sense.
That's the commercial property from random stuff is a good point. When you guys are done, I'll trace back to the commercial property.
Buy low, sell high. That's another question that we can, or like these are themes that I just popped up that you potentially cover.
Right.
You want to speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, and I have friends that have done that. I just have a friend that sold his property, purchased it at, let's see, about 350, sold it for, I think, 5 after maybe 2-3 years. The only issue is that when he sold that, now he had this money, his 150,000 in equity, plus the equity he built over 3 years of a person paying it down. So let's just throw out a number, 200 grand. Now he's buying another property, but the property he's now buying is way inflated than the cost he would have bought it. So that money that he gained from that property, he's not gaining anything at this moment because he's purchasing a property in the same market. Had he held on to that for, let's say, 3, 5, 10 years, and the value of homes went down, he would have been able to take that gained equity and generated wealth. But I'm playing the more
Morning.
Yeah, so like I'm collecting in that 5 to 10 years. He's waiting. He got his 150 grand. It's the how the rabbit or the hare. I'm collecting money every month. Somebody had a question. I don't know if you mind. Someone asked.
Scroll up.
Yeah. Who was it? Random stuff. Do we buy now or do we wait? Random stuff has a lot of good points out here. That's the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I buy it and I sell it and I collect this money now, is the market going to change in a near future where I could take that and generate more wealth? If the answer is no, and you're going to wait 5 to 10 years, I'm going to win. If the answer is the market's going to change in 3 months, I'm going to lose. on the most recent house I purchased. So there's no way to really know. And everyone, I know random stuff asked that question. That's the most common question asked to me. Do I buy now or do I wait a year or two? And everybody keeps saying it's going to change, it's going to change, it's going to change. My response to that is every market's different. If you had went into Queens and Brooklyn 20, 30, 40 years ago, you could have bought a house for $500,000. Those people, right, in Whitestone and Queens are saying $500,000, I'll wait. But fast forward, a lot of those houses now on 25 by 100 lots are worth $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. And the reason I bring that up is because in the neighborhood that I live in, which is being overdeveloped, we have run out of empty lots. So again, it circles back to supply and demand. Is this market going to become saturated? Yes. I'm sorry. Is it saturated? Yes. Will it always be saturated? Well, there's no more land to develop on. So the only way someone's going to buy something in my neighborhood is to come to me because there are no more lots. 15 years ago, there were lots everywhere. They're gone. They've all been purchased and turned into homes, similar to Queens and Brooklyn. Yes, there'll be a drop. But in my neighborhood, the supply is very low for the demand. And another place, they're developing, say in Arizona right now, in Vegas and other places. They're building new constructions. In those places, there is a chance that if the market drops, there's going to be an abundance, a high supply of homes, and the demand will drop, and the demand will drop, and you'll lose wealth. So it really depends on your market. You look around your neighborhood. If you live in a place where there's plenty of land to be developed on, I feel that over time, those house values may drop. That's my opinion. If you want to live in a place that's saturated with development, you're in a place where the supply will always be low. So there'll always be a worth. Even in downtown Detroit and downtown Newark, those houses in Newark that are going for $5 are going for between $200,000 and $300,000 now. So they're going from $5,000 to $200,000. I don't know what the math is. What percentage are we talking here? That's like a 40 times, right? 400%.
300 to 400%.
It's like $3,000 to $4,000, $3,000 to $4,000% return. So because there's no more houses over there, and Brooklyn went through that, Park Slope, certain neighborhoods, and that's just my take. Just to get to some of the points that random stuff brought up.
Yeah, I had a kind of a silly question, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna ask that question.
You got to ask that out there.
I mean, he's a teacher. Okay, I'll ask the question, but he's not going to answer it. I was going to say, do you have house groupies? But
Groupies?
House groupies.
Like people who want to get knowledge from.
So girls. So you're circling back to the dating thing?
Yeah, the thing is, you're a teacher. I don't know if you want to dive into that.
I won't dive too deep, but this is a man's podcast, and if T-Bob, you seem like an intelligent, successful person. Delane has 2 degrees, and he's a professional, and he's doing well. You know that when you have certain wealth and success, that once I don't want to sound sexist, but that can have an impact on how you're perceived, right, by the opposite sex. So do I have house groupies? I'm not sure what that means, but have I had...
I had to think about that one.
can't hold it.
I was like, hold on, what?
All right.
Do I have girls that have been maybe their interest level may have changed once they've learned that? Of course. And to be fair, like, do you guys want to date a girl that is not doing well for herself and doesn't have an education, doesn't have a career, doesn't have her money right?
Right.
Would you want that, T-Bob?
No, exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Would you want that, Delane?
Nah.
I'm not saying she has to be rich, don't get me wrong, or be the smartest, this and that, but
Just
you also don't want, just have your life together.
Yeah.
So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, let's not dive into that.
Yeah, I won't keep people
He
mad,
said
but,
that.
We ain't trying to expose each other out here, man. Out in these streets.
I know
Yeah, we know we can expose the hell out of each other right now. Be exposed.com. Quick. So guys, we are 1 hour in a podcast. Make sure you get the likes up. Make sure you super chat it. Super chat. We're gonna go. I pretty much went through all my questions. We're gonna go through the question. We're gonna start from the top. But if you have a question you want super chat, it does get precedence. So we're just gonna run through these questions real quick. A lot of people saying what's up. My battery's running dead. I don't know why this is not working.
The core is not.
Let me see why this. I don't know why this is not working.
I got one pulled up. Once you kick them off.
Okay, now. You pulling out questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
you see Captain Save a Ho. So it said you can't live in a box for $400,000 in California. When I mentioned the $400,000, we're talking extensive work. Jersey too, you can't really do much for $400,000. And the neighborhoods that I mentioned were the high, the most highest crime rates, the most, just the toughest neighborhoods to live in. I live in an urban neighborhood, but I mean tough neighborhoods. So to Captain Save a Ho, I hear what you're saying, but you do make more money too in California. But from what I know and my knowledge of California, it's a very tough market to be investing in. And I don't know a lot, but the numbers that I've seen, the type of salary that, let's say, I would generate, it's a tough market to break into. So probably because it is overdeveloped, right? And a limited supply, right?
Actually, I have a question. What's your opinion on short-term rentals?
So we have a friend, Nick. He does the Airbnb thing, and he constantly says it's a good return. When you say short rental, do you mean something beyond the Airbnb?
No, like Airbnb, Robo, stuff like that. If
you have a system, and let's say you have someone to clean it, someone to repair it, and the return is there, it's fine. I know our friend does well with it.
Always.
For me, short term is a year, right? I'm renting to families or friends, and they're buying in a residential neighborhood, renting in a residential neighborhood. I try to stay away from that because once they leave, I have to make extensive repairs. So the longer the person stays, the better it is for me, of course.
Okay, we got go through some more questions. Would you buy your first home? I think we covered that already.
Yeah, North Jersey got the first home. Actually, all the properties are like 10 minutes outside Manhattan. So of course, I'm hoping for, that residual. And there's a lot of commuters. I don't know if you're aware of that. We have 2 train stops into Manhattan.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
And more New Yorkers are coming out to Jersey, and that takes away the supply, right? Increases demand, and the value of the homes has gone up.
Yeah, man. That's what happened to Playa. Everything is up high. But I got a question for you about what we doing here. Me and T Bob, what we starting here. What do you think about foreign strategies? Um, Carmen, man, have a good night, brother. What do you think about what we doing here at Foreign Strategies? Because we talk about women, dating, culture, travel mostly, and we want to talk about things that obviously garner views and generate super chats and donations and all that things that we make. So, what do you think of what we got going on here?
I know Delane, we know in our 20s we went out to Manhattan, the city a lot, and went to college, we partied a lot. And then even into my 30s, I was going out. And at some point I started to feel like, what is the return on my time?
Mhm.
I go out, I meet a girl, we date, it's over, right?
Mhm.
We have fun, short term, right?
Mhm.
And then this kept happening and happening and happening.
Mhm.
And then I started to ask myself, like, is this how I want to define? Is this how I'm going to define my life?
Mhm.
Seeking, like short term fun, and
Right.
is this the legacy? Is this who I'm going to be? Is this where my self-worth is going to come from?
Mhm.
And being looking at myself, like, what type of man do I want to be?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
if I was to die today and I had to look back on my life
Mhm.
and from heaven, would I have been happy with the things that I had done?
Mhm.
And I started to feel like, and I know I've said this to you, the return was just not there. So, like, like, I didn't want to define myself by seeking out, a fun time
Mhm.
and like meeting a girl, dating. It's just like, it was just too fleeting.
Mhm.
Not that I'm married, not that I have kids. I've never got to that point, but I don't know. Like, what you guys are doing here, I obviously like it because you are, you know, on a topic. Of course, as a man, this is something we're always going to be interested in: dating, traveling. These are things that, to the day we die, are going to be on our mind. But you have found a way to generate wealth from it, and to make it productive.
Mhm.
Not like just a chit chat on the couch, but you've to dive deeper, to have people on here to really reflect on these things, give people a voice, to educate people. So what I'm seeing is a lot of positive from you guys, and it makes me want to do something. I have my background education, being a teacher, and maybe, but I would have to start from scratch. I probably would have to learn from you guys where to begin. Maybe if we did do that, that could be another facet of your business, helping people start their own podcasts, find their own voice, find their own worth. So being like a mentorship. I don't know, T-Bob, you may not know everything about Delane, but he's done a lot and been down this road.
Don't expose me. Don't expose me.
He's made some. He's done a lot of twists and turns,
That's
made a
good.
lot of sacrifices, and tried a lot of things. And a lot of people out there, they don't have that person. I don't have that person. I don't have a dad. I come from a family of immigrants. No one went to college. I'm the first one. I can't talk to anyone about starting a business, starting a podcast, realizing my potential. These are not things that people have. And this podcast gives people that outlet. So it's dope. What you guys are doing. I hope it grows. I hope, you guys can expand on it.
Definitely.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate that.
Dying over here, man. So we got a super chat from Ray Lamont, $1.99. Appreciate that support. Y'all could take Fresh and Fit spot.
What's that?
It's a podcast. They do. They're based in Miami.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. And they talk about dating Western women. They have like a lot of girls in every, I think it's like a couple nights or whatever, and they just talk about dating.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe one thing, I mean, I'm not married, and we have had friends that have been married and got divorced, or dated and got divorced.
Yeah.
But I know you guys are enlightening guys on how to, talk to women, how to maybe present yourself in a light that's respectful. Just be a man, right?
Yeah.
Not to just cower to other people's whims, or if you like a girl, not to compromise the person you are. And that's important, right? Being a man, finding that person is important. Finding yourself is important. So again, these are things that you guys are helping guys do, that maybe certain things we shouldn't go out into the dark, right? Into the dating world and just do whatever. Having someone to bounce ideas off of like this. If I had this maybe 10 years ago and I could have maybe come to this podcast, who knows where I'd be right now? I'd probably be in a better place. Instead of having to figure it out my own trial and error with women and the career and, other things. Yeah, that's, you guys are filling a void, I would imagine, for a lot of people.
Nice.
Appreciate
it. Yeah, I'm gonna get to you, Walt. Walt is one of the homies that we travel with in Brazil. Random stuff said, how come he's not married? It's because of red pill community. He doesn't even know what red pill means. So
I don't know what that's.
He's too busy to even know. I'm just gonna say something. Like, this guy has 6 houses. I thought he had 5. He's too busy to know what red pill means.
Well, you left the country.
Yeah, I mean,
I got another one.
Yeah, I came back here from the house.
Picked another one up.
There's a theme here. He's too busy to know what red pill means. That's to tell you a lot. People that got time, they know what red pill is. People that don't have time, he doesn't even know what red pill means.
Yeah, I would appreciate if you guys explained, but just to circle back, there's headspace, right? There's a finite amount of things you could think about at one time. As much as I like to capture and respond to everything everyone's writing and saying, and you guys are you can only think about so much at the same time. We're not machines. I don't know about, let's say, red pill, but I know I have a finite amount of things that I could do, a finite amount of time and a finite amount of headspace that I can devote myself fully. So, I work till 3, 4 teaching. I get home, I change. I'm at the houses till 10, 11, 12 at night. So I'm not on Instagram. I don't have time. I have a leak. Water's pouring down into my bathroom. If I don't fix that, my whole ceiling's going to fall. So,
Yeah, he's not even on Instagram. He doesn't have a social media footprint. I'm not saying that to be successful or have 5, 6 houses that you don't need to have all those things. But I'm just saying that he doesn't have time to even know what red pill means or all these other terminologies. So that's very interesting. But
so what's his red pill?
I don't know. What's red pill? Random stuff. What's your definition of it? Yeah.
Yeah, we can circle back if.
Yeah, we can find out what his definition of red pill means. Ray Lamont with the super chat. Appreciate the support, brother. I think he's a first timer. More subjects on finances, real estate, and crypto. Oh yeah, brother. We did something on real estate before. We're definitely gonna do some more stuff on finances. I know Walt talked about. Oh no, he didn't. I'm sorry. We talked about crypto one time because one guy in the chat, I think he like gave us like $300 one night. It was crazy, in super chats. So we decided to talk about crypto because he said he hit crazy on Hex.
Okay. I can talk about. You guys have talked about it already.
Yeah, we could keep talking about this red pill stuff. This, what's because he's explaining it right now. He said, random stuff says he sounds like he's already red pill. I deleted my Instagram also because it was killing my time.
So is red pill maybe getting off the matrix, as the next person referred to?
He's saying that to explain red pill, you got to watch the Matrix. So in the Matrix, there's red and a blue pill. If you take the blue, you're very unaware of what's going on in your surroundings. You're basically just floating through life. Everything's fleeting. Take the red pill, all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute. This doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. You're just so aware of your surroundings. You know everything. Everything's just changed. That's what happened in the Matrix.
Yeah, just to build on that idea from random stuff and Yamamata, however you say that. So the way I look at it is like, of course, time is our most valuable asset, right? With time, I genuinely believe any person could accomplish anything. It's just time, right?
This is not financial advice. We are not licensed professionals. Should I say that? To avoid YouTube policy? Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
But there is, I guess we were talking about real estate, so just circle back to that. I had
Just explain more red pill. You want to
introducing them to a new and typically disturbing reality,
goes on, disturbing understanding of true nature of a particular situation. I had no real idea what horrors these animals suffered before getting to my plate.
Right.
Then I took the red pill, and now I can never go back.
So yeah, in some ways you could say I take the red pill, but not in such maybe the way that they're putting it, and at least in that case, a little dark take on it. But the way I look at it is, I, for example, I have the leak upstairs. I need to learn how to change the shutoff valves. It's a finite amount of time and mental space. I YouTube how to do it. I fixed the plumbing. That's how I chose to use my time. If I could channel all my mental energy and maximize all my time and gear everything I know and have towards a common or singular goal, then it increases the chances of it being realized. So if I learn how to do that, as opposed to going to Instagram, the bathroom will get fixed faster. If I then learn about the electrical, I can move the process along. If I learn about property management like T-Bob, I can move the process along. But if I spend 10 minutes on Facebook looking at a video of two guys fighting, or a lion trying to eat a deer, right? You've seen these videos, right? Or just someone in a different language cursing at someone and then they punch him in the face.
Or the Squid Game memes.
Exactly.
Right.
That I'm essentially diluting my time and my energy. There's a finite amount of time. We're not here forever.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to spread yourself if you're going to go on Instagram in an unproductive way, go on, YouTube, same thing. But what you guys are doing here is not that, right?
Mm-hmm.
People here are trying to better their lives. They're trying to come up with a plan.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the same thing. Like, people are actively trying to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is those people that misuse their time. They don't realize what they're sacrificing. When you're in a bad, going back to dating, when you're in a bad relationship and you're fighting with your girl, and I've been there, and it's fight after fight, you don't get that time back. That energy, you don't get that back. You know, you don't, that's gone forever. You might say, well, there's another day tomorrow, but you lost that time that day. And those are all just, you know, those things are always, I guess you could say, diluting your reality, you know, or taking away from your opportunities. And it's that realization that if I can put all my ducks in a row facing the same direction, marching forward, I have a better chance to realize my potential. That's what, to me, again, being a man, right? Being the man that and the thing is, you know, people like Jay-Z, for example, he's made it. He was hustling, right? Out in Brooklyn. He made it. Then he rapped. He didn't have to. He had already made it. He wasn't rapping to make money. He was just doing that to see if he could, I'm sure, right? To overcome that. Then he, again, made it. He didn't stop. And he bought the Nets, right? Started whatever liquor thing he's doing. The point is, he will never stop, because at the end of the day, all that stuff goes away and all he has is that self-worth, right? He feels good not because, you know, he hustled 20 years ago or rapped 10 years ago. He feels good because in this day and time, he is doing the best, being the best version of himself. That means not arguing with his girl, I'm assuming, not wasting his time in a bad relationship with a girl that he's going to not see anymore, not, you know, investing in things that go away, some type of business that fails, not blowing his money on a car that he can crash, but building, you know, he's a billionaire now, right?
Yeah.
Building something because that's what resonates within him. That's the thing that is going to matter to all of us in the long run. And he's just a good example because he doesn't need to do that. He's doing that because that's in essence what it means to be a man, right?
Yeah.
Facts, all around facts, man. Everything you said.
We buying a soundboard. If I had a soundboard right now,
I know he needed it for that.
I'll go over to YouTube and hit off some like crazy, like
yeah, man. That
yeah,
man, that's powerful.
Yeah, I have like a question about the marriage thing too, because the random stuff asking about the marriage.
And you might have reference to Beyonce situation.
Beyonce? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know how that is. You want to pull that up or?
No, it's just my only response to Yumata is like, at least he's with her and they're still building towards something. He definitely, of course, made a mistake. Everybody's been there. But the point, I think, in that case is that he has children with her. They're building something. You know, she's successful. And his sense of worth is in that growth.
Right.
I'm sure if he can go back, he wouldn't change it. Maybe he grew from it and he had to go through it. But it's not a fleeting thing, you know, like his relationship with Beyonce.
Yeah, they were married. They're married.
They're married.
It's like
kids, they're building an empire.
Right.
Who wouldn't want to be Jay-Z or Beyonce right now, right? I mean, billionaire with a model wife, right?
So do you watch YouTube? Any channel on YouTube?
The only time I watch YouTube is for a purpose.
Exactly.
You know, like before I knew how to spackle. If I'm, I'm doing a spreadsheet, How do I, do something on a spreadsheet if I'm doing something for finances? If I'm doing something for teaching, I don't know how to post a video on this, on this platform. How do I do it? I very rarely, if ever, sometimes, I guess I do YouTube. I know like Wilder is fighting Fury the third time this Saturday. So, like I like boxing and MMA. So, I watched.
That's gonna be an AC. Are you going to AC for that or no?
No, it's I don't know where they're fighting. But yeah, so like I guess T-Bop. But I try to limit it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
If I'm on a bus and I have nothing to do, okay. If I'm if I'm in a car, someone else is driving. But if I'm eating, maybe I'll put something on Netflix.
Mhm.
But when the time is up, I try not to.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this guy, me personally, I've seen him watch Squid Game. He'll watch one episode and then he'll just another couple of days he'll watch another episode. Like meanwhile, everybody else in the world is just burning through all those episodes. And one day he'll break it down. Like, and I've already seen Squid Game, so I'm watching it with him.
I'll stop watching it. This is probably not healthy.
Yeah.
I'll stop watching an episode with like 5 minutes left. I'll finish it next time.
He's like, all right,
sometimes I'll finish it. Sometimes you just gotta like keep going. Sometimes I just fuck it. I'll wait.
Yeah.
5 minutes could wait.
Yeah, man, I totally understand that. Same way, man. I don't watch movies. I don't watch pretty much anything I watch. It has to be from learning. Like if I'm not learning something, I honestly just can't be. I'm not focused. I generally don't like to be entertained watching something. I'm like, I look like this is goofy. Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point? So, for me, everything has to have a point that has to benefit me somehow, some way, not just making me laugh. That's not very beneficial to me. That's very short-lived. So I definitely understand where you're coming from on that for sure. Like I think I can count on one hand how many movies I've watched in the past 5 to 6 years. So I definitely can respect you on that.
Did you want to circle back the guy that paid the $5 want to talk about crypto?
I think he was saying more subjects, making more shows on that.
I'm only saying it because you say you prioritize.
Oh yeah.
Sure, people that
you shouted him out. Did you shout him out?
Yeah, I definitely did. If I didn't, I'll do it again. I appreciate that, Ray. Yeah, we're gonna do more subjects on that. Obviously when we were in Rio, we had the women. The chats was popping. We're getting a lot more flack. But yeah, we want to include that in because that's the DNA of who we are. So that's also a part of us, what we represent. But yeah, T-Bob, you want to do reactions on the Brazil thing? Not today, but pre-recorded, right? You want to do reactions?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good for sure. For sure.
Yeah, look out for reactions from us. We're gonna react to Carnival in 2019. We're gonna watch the whole thing.
Be crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts, man. And then
Wilder.
We'll start doing pre-recorded reactions if you guys like it. But what you want to do, man? You want to shut it down?
What time's 11? I said 11. It's hour and a half. Yeah, I mean,
I'm going by the vibe. I'm going by how many people we have, because normally we have a lot more people in. But real estate is a very niche subject matter, so I kind of figured out we're gonna have a little different traffic.
Yeah, I mean, things calming down a bit, so I think it's a good time to. We got to all the questions, right?
Yeah.
I feel like,
because I know we had like 6 bad Brazilian girls in here. Then
I mean, yeah, generally, I mean, there's a reason why the 1% is 1%. So, I mean, that's generally how the world works.
But
That's why I always say, just because a video has a lot of views doesn't mean you're necessarily getting too much knowledge from it.
that's
You
deep,
know,
man.
doesn't mean it's good. It's good knowledge because it has a lot of views. That's why I always talk about F and F. It's all the stuff that's going on in the background that makes the production and all that makes uh, people subscribe. People want to see it, right? Um, so yeah, man.
Okay. All right. Okay. He's saying that we're gonna answer this question. Wall Street, he's one of the homies. What would you eliminate and add to your life if you were giving advice to your younger self?
Me
Um,
or to all of us?
I'll let you just answer that because I feel Walt knows us, but I don't think he knows you. And
Waltstreet?
yeah, he
That's
works with us.
That's a dope name,
Yeah,
Waltstreet.
yeah.
That's a good one. So what would I eliminate or add to my life talking to my younger version? So of course, this is, it depends how far back you go, right? If I go back 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, the further you go back, the different type of advice I'd give to my younger self, right?
Yeah.
So it's two separate questions. What would I eliminate and add is now in the present. So that's the type of question I could answer now. But what advice would I give to a younger self? Well, if you want to specify, how far back are we going?
Yeah.
So you want me to talk about if he wants to invest now? He's bringing up a lot of points here.
This is one of the lives that's going to really do well when we wrap it up. Put a bow on it. It's going to really do well.
Which one of the Waltz do you want me to go with? Eliminator, add, advice to yourself. He's starting right now. 32.
I'm dying.
Which one you want me to add?
Which one, Walt? Which one you want to prioritize?
Walt's one of the regulars.
He works with us.
Oh.
He does consultations, and he does student visas, extending your stay in Brazil. He speaks Portuguese, French,
Okay,
Spanish, and he's learned. Yeah.
The 32 now is the easiest one, so I'll just start there to get it over with. You're 32. You want to start in real estate. You need 20% plus 10 to close, plus we'll say 20 to 40 for renovations. So if you're 32 and you're starting to get, if you don't have those numbers, I recommend you consider a change in quality of life. So if you have your own apartment, get a friend. If you have no savings at 32, I hate to say it, but I would consider moving in with a family member. Because the thing is, Mills asked a good question, like, what's the timeline? If you're 32 and you're going to rent a place and try to save, you're not going to be buying it until your 40s or 50s. And you're not going to realize your potential as a man and realize your, I guess, whatever you're going to be until it's too late to enjoy it, right? If you're willing to go home for 3-4 years and save up, and then let's say at 36, 37, 38, at that point, you can then go buy something, and then your life will be drastically improved. So you're going to bite the bullet in the short term, but the rest of your life will be improved, which is a very anti-American notion, right? What are we saying here as Americans? We live in the moment, right? We buy impulsively. We enjoy today with little regard for tomorrow. So, Walt, you got to bite the bullet if you can't, if you're in not in the best financial situation. Should I do the what would I eliminate or add?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
You're dropping man knowledge right now.
If
Appreciate you, Rand.
I mean, maybe you guys and Mills, you would appreciate this. Maybe the eliminating would be like the diet, right? You know, the way you Delane is on top of the diet with the gym, and he's planting seeds. And he's 60, 70, 80, 90, and he's still walking and he still has 2 lungs, you know? Then he's going to look back on this podcast in 2021 and be like, I got the last laugh. You know, being American, you know, I'll indulge. And that's a type of hidden investment, right? Put money aside, right? We talked about real estate and money. The real return is the body is a vessel, right? Destroy this vessel, you'll never enjoy the fruits of your labor. So if I could eliminate things, certain things in the diet, and if I could add things, working out, and I would double down on the vessel, the body, right? So this vessel can carry me into a better future. Because without that, really, when am I going to enjoy the fruits of this labor? If I'm out, and I don't drink, but if I was, and I was overweight, and I'm lucky I'm not, because, you know, I do to some extent manage those things, but I don't invest the way that Delane does. So Delane, you know, is gonna enjoy the last chapter of his life more than the average person, the average American, who is unfortunately, you know, I guess just eating the wrong things and not investing, not working out. I know T-Bob, you work out too, right? You guys realize you're in the top 5%, right? Like, you're talking about being a man. What guy doesn't want to be in shape? You know, it attracts women. You feel good. You're walking up a flight of steps. You carry yourself with a certain vigor, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I hope that answers it for Walt. You want me to answer his last question, or you got other stuff going on?
Yeah, you can answer his last question.
He never went back to how young. So I'll just pick a relevant age. If I could go back to my younger self, I would go back to the day I last saw my dad and he left and I saw him leave, you know? But because that's not really in line with the conversation that we're having, I will go back to maybe to college, because that is when my major financial decisions, were directly relating to where I am now. Being a teacher, there are certain limitations, and the largest being, like, you can never, as a teacher, you can never feel like you've realized your potential. You never will feel like a man in the purest sense. The challenges you face in the profession are largely political, and, you know, it's not the type of environment where you feel like I'm doing the best I can. You feel largely limited by the environment that you work in. It's just not that kind of environment. For a variety of factors. But, in the position that you two guys are in, like being entrepreneurial and having, you two don't know where this is going. And the people on this podcast, they have a vision. They don't know where they're going or what that end game is. But being a teacher, I don't have anything else to work towards. I'm not going to I can't get another position. It's too political. I can't do more. I can't be challenged. I'm not compensated in any way financially by doing things. But you two, there's a direct correlation between what you do and the return that you get. T. Bob's choice of investment in his property and mine is a direct correlation to our return. The amount of videos YouTube posts is a direct correlation to what you get back. And it's kind of like, that's what it means to be a man, right? To know what you put out in the world, you have some control over that. But working within education, and the same thing you could say for the DPW, right? Sanitation, working in certain state, agencies, there's certain limitations that there's the level of risk is diminished, so is that level of reward. And to be a man, you have to face some type of challenge to grow. How can I grow if I cannot face new challenges, right? How can I grow if I can't have new responsibilities? And you two are the pilots of this ship, right? So if you make a choice, you never know, right? What if something goes viral? What if this blows up? What if you're like Jay-Z and 20 years from now, you're looking back at an NBA team that you own? I will never have that reality as a teacher, but you two might, right? I mean, how can I do that as a teacher salary? It just there's a cap, So
Powerful message, man. As always.
I'll get that soundboard, man. All buttons right now, all of them. Just at the same time.
I love it.
We be having these talks all the time too.
Yeah, me and you.
I'll be like, man, when I was deep.
I love it.
We'll ask a question. The random stuff here, the super chat, $5 super chat, appreciate that support. What does he think about property managers? I'm thinking about big cities in North Carolina and Tennessee. Have you looked into these? If so, what do you think? My commercial property question wasn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, random stuff. That's right. So I tried random stuff. I tried to buy a commercial property, the most recent one. And my realtor, the managing realtor at the office, all my friends that invest, everyone put the brakes on it. Nobody would sign off on it. Every person I know said, stay away from commercial. And I'm punching the numbers. I'm saying, look, this is the return. The property's a little lower than the residential. And everybody's saying that, with the pandemic, people are shifting away from, spaces. And they're working, as T-Bob and Delane are doing, from private spaces. This traditional notion that you have to be within an office to be at work, right, is being challenged. Even in education, like there were many weeks when we worked from home. Those children still learned. I'm sure there were certain things they could have picked up if they were face-to-face, certain social elements, but they were still learning nonetheless. And so I would be careful with the commercial. If you can get a great deal, that's one thing. But in my case, the numbers were only slightly lower. And, no one that I know would sign off on it for me. And I didn't want to make a decision to go against everyone that I know, which, and with the residential, people are staying. So where, if you're a family, you need a place to live. If your business flops, you're out, right? You might make the counter argument, well, it's easier to evict someone from a commercial property than residential because the liability is lower for that person. Meaning, if your business is failing, it's easier to kick you out than if you have a daughter and a son, you have to convince a judge, hey, these people aren't paying rent. So in that sense, of course, there's certain protections you have and advantages. But in terms of stability, I don't know where the market is going. And the space I was looking at was an office space. Could I have rented it or leased it and somebody renovated it to be something else? Of course. But I'm a little weary about the commercial space. Let's see how this pandemic plays out. And people are always going to need a place to live. Now going back to North Carolina and Tennessee, I've never been to either. So I'm not familiar enough with the market. I think I've made the point a few times that if the return is high enough, it's something I would consider. If you see those neighborhoods changing and experiencing gentrification, like Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, I'm speaking from where I come from, Newark, Patterson. All these cities have seen some development, and the costs of these places have gone up. If you get a steal in a city, and that city has, let's say, a stadium, there's an infrastructure, there's transportation, they have a subway, they have, large things like the Bronx had the botanical gardens. If there are some things, if there's a way to get in, and there are attractions, the city is going to see a revival eventually. And if you get in early enough, one of my friend's brothers went to NYU, and he's older, his older brother in the 90s. And after he graduated, and he had lived in Manhattan, going to NYU, he said, why go back to Jersey? I'm going to buy a place in Brooklyn. He bought the place for a few $100,000. His car was broken into, he said, about 10, 20 times. And it was hell. Everything was stolen, is a reoccurring theme. But his brownstone is now worth like $3 million. So, and now he's renting it, and the whole community is gentrified, and people are dying to hand him, $3,000-$4,000 for a one bedroom. And that wasn't the case in the 90s. So do you have the stomach for that random stuff? Are you willing to experience someone breaking your windows, in your car, in your work van? If you leave windows unprotected and they see tools, are you ready to pay for new tools and repair that broken window? And if they break the pipes in your basement to recycle it and your basement's flooded, are you gonna, so he says they're big city, they're changing, they're moving, property values are going up, right? It's supply and demand, random stuff. If I'm telling you now, there's nothing to buy in New York. All those neighborhoods, Harlem, 12 years ago, I could have bought a one bedroom or a studio for like $100,000 in Harlem. That same studio is worth $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. So these people from New York that are coming to Tennessee, it is what it is. I'm priced out of New York. I had the option 12 years ago. I didn't take it, and now I can't. And these people that are, LA too, like the previous listener, Savaho, Captain Savaho, like California, they're being priced out. And places like Tennessee and North Carolina, where the supply is enough and you can get in on the ground, you could consider it. The easiest way for me to tell you is I need a number. I need a description of the property. I need a description of the neighborhood. And in that case, I could say to you, hey, this is a good idea or a bad idea. Without those details, I can't really tell you. But because I'm speaking in generalizations right now, right?
What if you had that brownstone and if you bought it 12 years ago? What would you do with it now?
With the 3 million?
Yeah. Would you cash it in, or would you rent it out, or equity, or what would you
So he lived and worked out in New York, so it made sense for him. But actually, he just moved to Jersey. But the type of people that are now renting the brownstone, you know, I don't know what you call them, T-Bob. We call them yuppies up here in North Jersey. You ever heard that word before, yuppie? Probably not. Right?
I don't even know what that means. No.
Yuppie is like a person, or a type of person like moving into a neighborhood. They never lived there, and it's like trendy to be there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Harlem, right?
Uh-huh.
Harlem was a historically black neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
I dated a few girls actually from Harlem. I was going there 10 years ago. It was a different time than if you go now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, the yuppies moving in, the neighborhood's changing. It was
Interesting.
historically African American, but there's also a lot of Africans, like Nigerians, Kenyans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a different neighborhood. And then, so now my friend was renting to someone, of course, not to bring race into it, someone that had less money. And a lot of these yuppies are also black. I'm not saying they're all white, but the type of people moving in, have more money. So I guess he's just going to collect,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Makes sense.
Gave random stuff enough, I know it seems like everyone on here is looking for me to tell them or someone to tell them in the chat, this is the next hot market, but I don't know, it's a good question. Where's T-Bob? You might know more than me about that because you've been around. You've looked at other markets. Do you have a recommended market? Like where you're looking at, or you've been a little research?
Outside of Texas, I'm pretty clueless in the U.S. Outside of Texas, and of course, I hear things around Tennessee, Arizona, Nevada.
do?
But outside of that, pretty clueless, I would say. Besides internationally,
And where in Texas are you like?
we're in Texas, Austin, so we've been doing some looking outskirts of Austin
So
right
you're
now.
looking outside the city.
Outside the city, yeah, I
Suburb.
guess probably outside of Austin, the city for sure at the moment. So
Now,
yeah,
Austin is like a major city.
exactly,
You have transportation. You have some major sports teams, right? Who's in Austin?
exactly. So
Texas. Yeah.
So
what
what
I
is and
think,
then
Houston Rockets.
so currently there's can't remember if it's a soccer stadium that's coming or Austin's out to get a professional soccer team or some other professional team, and then potentially I could see Austin getting an NFL team in the future. And then Austin's just growing generally with all the tech companies.
outskirts of Austin, T-Bob, what are you looking at for a single family or two, if they even have two families?
So pretty much we're looking at land right now currently. So purchasing land. Say it again.
How much would land cost, let's say, out there?
Land is going for actually I just got sent some stuff today. Let's see if I can read it off for you. So we're looking at land as well as because I actually have a buddy who's a general contractor out there. So he's pretty much just been funneling stuff to us. So this one place we're looking at, it's 1.55 acres. It's going for 169, and this is about 45 minutes outside of the city
And
of
not to
Austin.
go into great detail, but that chunk of land, is there a sewer, water, gas, or is this a raw? Like
It's raw, but next I would say maybe 2 blocks down, there's a neighborhood.
Okay.
So it's not too raw. Land I know is it's pretty, I wouldn't say risky, but it takes time to make money. So that
Yeah.
definitely is going to be a long term investment.
Yeah.
But I would say land isn't, we're really not, I guess, pursuing land as the first option, but he's been passing some pretty decent deals to us recently on the outskirts of Austin. So that kind of made us attractive to land. Wasn't originally thinking about it, but I've talked to more people who said they wouldn't go the land route than would. So it's because of like I said, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work. But the fact that I know a general contractor out there, that helps because it's going to make things a little bit cheaper and a little
Yeah.
bit easier. So
So Charles Jones, I was laughing because he said to stay in Jersey.
You know what?
I
You
don't
know
even
what?
want land personally. I put up sheetrock. You know what I'm saying? I want the structure in place. I
Yeah,
don't.
you say you don't want to buy land. Yeah.
But T-Bob, the thing is, like, you buy it for 165 on 1.5 acres. How many plots are we talking? In Jersey, you could put 12 to 15 houses on that on 1.5 acres. You know, you could put a lot of houses. And if you do the math, in 10 or 20 years, if you're putting, let's say, 10 houses, that land could be worth $2-3 million. So when it's all said and done, you might make more money, on that than I've done on all my investments. But I also, have had friends that have bought land, let's say in Pennsylvania, because our Texas land is Pennsylvania, because Jersey is expensive. We go next door and they have some land. My friend's grandparents bought land 40, 50 years ago, and they still haven't developed on it. So they still haven't made money yet. And their grandparents have passed. So now my friend has it. He's like, what the fuck do I do with this land? So since no one has developed yet in that neighborhood,
It's hard. Yeah.
but they might have, I think they only spent like, let's say $5,000. This is going back 40
Mhm.
years, 70s. And I'm sure they could probably make a few hundred on it, but that's not the type of return we're talking about.
Exactly, because you've had
So
to pay taxes and all that stuff.
exactly. That payoff hasn't happened yet. So if you
Exactly.
T-Bob do it and you can make 3 million in 20, 30 years. You could also make 100 grand and then be like, I'm sure you're doing
Exactly.
your homework. You said 2 blocks away.
Yeah, it's a lake. There's a lake nearby as well. A lot of people go to visit, so it's one of those. It's interesting. I'm kind of learning the area a little bit, learning a little bit about land. Also purchased land. I actually purchased land in Tulum as well, but that's like a quick flip. I'm flipping that in like, I'll probably hold it for 6 months and then flip it. But when it comes to the US, I know things are a little bit different in Mexico. Things are priced different there. There's no like MLS, there's none of that. So you could get gains.
So T-Bob, like, I don't know, like, what is a condo? What a 1, 2 bedroom condo? What is a single family? What is it? What is land? When you're out in Mexico, what are the numbers like?
What's the numbers like? So specifically in places like Tulum, Playa, you could get pre-construction. So pretty much what I did was bought pre-construction. So pre-construction, obviously you get a cheaper rate. So you want the prices pre-construction or already built?
What do you mean by pre-construction?
So buying it before they start building or buying it while they're building. You usually you get it at a cheaper price,
Right.
and then once it's built, it goes up
Oh,
10,
yes.
20%. Yeah, stuff like that. So
I
that's
know.
big.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's big in Latin America.
Yeah, we'll
So
say I would never buy post-construction
you
for the
never buy
rest.
post?
I would never buy like a renovated home because
Mhm.
now I know too much.
Exactly.
But so yeah, we'll say pre-construction because that's the only type of investment I would make.
Exactly. So you can get 1 beds around like 150 in Tulum, 150 as low as 120 pre-construction. And then once it's built, it goes up. I can't remember what they say. It's like in between like 10 to 20%. You could sell it as soon as it's done, or just hold it for a bit. But the cool thing about some of these places, they do all the managing for you, and then you actually sign a contract where they guarantee you a payout for a year, like a certain payout each month. So that was the deal we made. And things have been, it's been pretty nice, pretty hands off. Um, so yeah, it's obviously it wasn't easy. Buying in Mexico, that process was a headache. It's definitely not as easy as the US. So that's the one thing I would say, tell people, like it's not as straightforward as the US. But I definitely think it could be worth it, to go in places like that, because it's cheap. And then the thing that really attracted me there was you're paying Mexico prices for the property, but what they're renting it for is like US prices. So like Delano, Tulum isn't cheap. Tulum is like being in London, but the properties don't cost like you're in London. So
So the return
that's
is good then. You got a good return on that then.
exactly.
Yeah, players would be nice. I think you'll get a good return on player. It's the same situation.
Yes.
All right. So we at the 2 hour mark, guys. Make sure you get the likes up. I'm about to check in with my guests and then checking with T-Bob. Are we going to land this plane? We have no turbulence on Foreign Strategies Airlines.
No
Yeah,
turbulence. And
Cool
what
cat.
is that, the first show ever? No turbulence?
No turbulence.
First show ever.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. It's just 2 hours in. We gotta let.
2 hours in, man.
I
It's
don't
gonna
feel
be.
like we hold them off too much longer.
No, we're gonna have those shows where we have like 4 or 5 girls on the panel. It's gonna be crazy. We're gonna have those shows too, but I think these shows are more important. You know, talking about finances and the cornerstone of being a man,
The nitty gritty.
the stuff that people don't really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh man. I enjoy these conversations. Definitely much more. I think I feel guys always call me out on the other conversations that I'm not engaged.
Oh, the other
So
one.
yeah, he called me out on it. But nah, I definitely enjoy these for sure.
Yeah, they're all pulling cards. They pull my cards too.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, they
Lane ain't smiling like he wasn't.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
It's
yeah,
like,
man.
yo, man.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be reunited in Brazil soon. But yeah, I want to thank my guests today. I take a bullet for this man.
Got it.
What he said didn't cease to amaze me. I knew he has all his knowledge and insight, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted him to be on this platform. And yeah, so tomorrow is going to be, I don't know what we're going to do, but Friday, guys, we're going to have a female guest from Australia. She's really attractive. She's a looker. She's kind of young, so it's going to be interesting what she thinks. What's her mindset on dating and culture in Australia? What's going on in Australia? What's your take? But yeah, guys, T-Bob, you want to take them home? You want to land a plane?
And playing. Well, appreciate you guys once again. Appreciate the special guest, man. You definitely hit some powerful points. Really appreciate that. I think you brought a lot of value to the channel, and hopefully, guys who didn't make it on tonight can go back, watch the video, and gain something from it. But really appreciate it. And until are we on tomorrow, or what's tomorrow? What Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday. We don't have anything planned for tomorrow, but we'll I guess conjoin tomorrow morning and see.
Yeah,
And see if
I'll
we
be
have
in Florence. I'll try to get us a female guest. I'll be working hard.
Okay, well, sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. Well, until next time, guys.
All right, guys. I'm Delaney Isaac. One Half Foreign Strategies
T-Bob.
are out.
All right, brother. Nice to meet you, T-Bob.
Nice to meet you too, man. You take care. Appreciate it once again.
Nice to meet you. Everybody, thanks for chatting.
Peace.
Once again, thanks for flying with Foreign Strategies. Make sure you subscribe.